What's happening? Of course, you know it's your boy B-Hop Radio Shouty. Stepping in the building, I got a guy that is responsible for this Atlanta hip-hop scene as we know it, okay? We probably wouldn't even have an Atlanta hip-hop scene if this guy was not putting it down for the town as he has done, okay? I'm talking about Curt. I'm talking about a legendary studio. I'm talking about Patchwerk. What's good with it, boss?
Chillin', man. You putting all that on me?
Oh, my God. Curt, first of all,
put it on us.
I'm going to put it on everybody, man.
Us, not me. We got a team over there.
Okay, now first of all, break down that team.
Well, you know, so Patchwerk Recording Studios, we started out in '93 as a record label.
Yeah.
Patchwerk Recordings. Our first artist was Razkaz, and we signed Mean Green passed, rest in peace, Mean Green, and then we had Voodoo. And but we started our studio in '95 here in Atlanta when Bob got drafted by the Falcons.
Yeah.
So we just made 25 years, man, and we've been blessed. I mean, we hit the ground running with Atlanta's finest. So our first client was Outkast, and Outkast immediately gave us credibility. So we went from Outkast to Goody Mob to Society of Soul to all the stuff that Organized Noise was working on, and we've been blessed since then.
Okay, Curt, for me being an Atlanta native and local, when it came to music, Patchwerk was always the place that you felt like you had to get in there at least one good time to record one song to feel like you were actually amounting to something out here in these streets. Talk about just building that legacy of a studio to where, I mean, I just got to be real. You got Coca-Cola, you got the King Center, and you got Patchwerk Studios in this thing, man.
Yeah, you know, one of the books I always used to read was like, they would ask you if you closed down, would you matter? And I always measured ourselves like if we went away, would it have an impact on the city and the culture? And I felt like it would, that if we disappeared, it definitely would have an impact. And it's been validated damn near by this little pandemic because we haven't been doing our podcasts and our workshops.
Yeah.
And people have been calling and asking about them. It was like, man, that was my networking, and that's how I met people. And I was looking for them, doing them once a month. But, you know, we just came in a little bit different. And we came in, whereas I remember one time I was on a vacation. We were in Bermuda. And we were stopped in Jamaica and Bermuda, and it was a big difference because in Jamaica, when you left your resorts, all the people would be running up on you trying to do stuff, almost begging for opportunity. And we went to Bermuda, it wasn't like that. Them people wasn't. It was just chilling. They wasn't running up under you for anything. And so I was talking to one of the dudes that was he was a cab driver, and he was like, "Yeah, it's different here. We were never slaves." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, we were never slaves. We came over from England." And we were carpenters, electricians, and tradespeople, and our unemployment rate here in education is less than 2%. We were never slaves. And so when I think about us, I say we were never slaves. We never took money from a record label.
Yeah.
We never took money from a production company or a publishing company to get off the ground. Our studio wasn't anchored by a famous production company or a famous artist or a label behind it. Like even now, like no disrespect, like if whether you be like, you know, before when it started, and it's weird because I'm in it and I see it going back like that, but when we first started, every studio was affiliated with something. You couldn't go into Jermaine's studio unless you were signed to So Def.
Yeah.
You couldn't get in DARP unless you were signed to Rowdy Records. You couldn't get in La Coco, which was LaFace out in Alpharetta, unless you were signed to LaFace. You couldn't get in Bosstown unless you knew Bobby Brown, right? And so we came in as the only first kind of 100% commercially available studio that belonged to the city.
Yeah.
So and we didn't take any money from any, like, you know, Drama and them got Mean Street, but that's Atlantic.
Exactly.
And then these other studios have money and they belong to Sony or something like that. So we've always said we've been clean.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it is nowadays is when you look at it, so Doppler, which was our granddaddy, it got bought. And those people weren't even going to be a studio. So it's kind of like not a commercial facility anymore. And then Dallas and them opened up, but then Future bought it. So now it's a private studio. You can't get in there unless you got a relationship. And then Tip bought Silent Sound. That was public. Now it's private.
Yeah.
And then Outkast bought Bosstown to Stankonia. It's private. So we came in a situation where everybody was privately owned and affiliated, and we said we're going to be a 100% commercial facility. We're not going to take any money from anybody, right? And so we cut our teeth. And so if you competing with other artists or you from out of town, do you feel comfortable going to stay at somebody else's house? No, you stay in a hotel because it belongs to everyone. So when Cash Money or Dr. Dre or anybody come, Fabulous or whoever come from out of town, Whitney Houston, they don't want to go to a place that belongs to somebody. They rather go to a place that belongs to everybody. So we've always been looked at as Atlanta's studio and it's neutral ground. We gonna go play that Florida and Georgia game, not at Georgia or Florida. We gonna go to a neutral place.
Come on.
And so we've been that since day one, and we haven't changed.
Okay, Kurt. What was that point that you realized that it was going the fuck down at Patchwerk?
Well, I knew we hit the ground running, but it was an opportunity. So, you know, you got to imagine, we was talking off camera and you kind of get an idea of how I am, but people are how they are because of their experiences, right? So when we came in, and I went around to, and it's been 25 years, and I still never said who shitted on me. But we went around to other studios, and the studio managers wouldn't tell us pricing. They wouldn't tell what they paid the engineers. They wouldn't let us tour the facility. They wouldn't do anything. And so when I got in, we were small. We were in a house, and I always said, man, if I ever get in the front and people are looking at us, I'm changing this shit. I'm going to share the information. And I believe that if we have more than one great studio in Atlanta, it makes Georgia better. And so when we got in the front and people started looking to us, I always shared the information. So it's so much shared now. A lot of people, when they see the reality shows and movies or videos and they be like, they're in Atlanta and they see the studio, all of them used to call me and be like, they think everything is shot at Patchwerk, right? It's to the point now that like a lot of people, when they build their studios, I allow them to come over with their architect. What? They tour our facility. I even open up our plans and show it to them and tell them who we use and all this stuff. So now, even when I'm watching shit, the rooms look like our room because we used to have very distinctive diffusers in the back. Where you saw, you knew it was us. Man, about a month ago, I was watching the show and I'm like, is that in our room? And the only thing that threw it was the lighting. So a lot of times we shared the information. And then the other thing that we brought in is that when we first started, all of the engineers were independent contractors. And when we first started, the first lesson that I learned that everybody was talking about was the vibe. The vibe got to be right. The vibe got to be right. And so I remember we would go in the studio and I thought that the artist was the star, then the producer, and then maybe the engineer was third. But back then when we started, remember, we were on 2-inch. So I would watch the engineer come to the studio 2 hours early. He would set up and we was doing live instrumentation with organized noise. So they would set up all these mics, track all these live musicians, splice the tape, edit them, make 2 tapes work together, and nothing could happen without the engineer. And I said, well, fuck, he's the superstar. And so, and then I was like, well, you know what, when we build with a label, we would have to get a purchase order. So we would get one for the studio, and then the engineer would have to get one on their own. And then I'd be like, well, man, these people never pay in 30 days. So we out here with 30 days worth of work, and they working 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the bill is high. And then I'm like, what kind of vibe does it create if the engineer been here all the time, ain't got his money, working all night, and y'all talking about we doing another session? And I said, ding, ding, ding. We gonna hire the engineers and put them on staff, make sure so they can file their taxes, get houses and cars. So we hired the engineers, and that changed the game. And so what ended up happening is all the best engineers, we started doing their booking, their billing, their scheduling, their collecting and everything, and marketing and promoting them. And then guess what? All the best engineers wanted to work at the studio. And then if you was a client that wanted to work with the best engineer would say, I only work at Patchwerk. And so that's why till this day, we're known for our engineering, because we literally kind of put our business behind engineering. And so we've been able to train engineers from right out of school. We got a hell of an intern program, so we can take them from step 5 to 10. So our engineers are Monica's engineers, our Usher's engineers, our Polo's engineers, our Jazzy's engineers, our Jeezy's engineers, our Ludacris engineers, the YFN, Young Dolph, all of these people, they end up, Sean Garrett, taking our engineers because they've been trained to be able to do everything. So that was like the difference. We didn't take money. We weren't affiliated with an artist. We were 100% commercial facility, and we had the best engineers. And we didn't sell studio time. We sold customer service, and people didn't figure that out. And then now, what's funny now is, like I tell people, consumers are smarter than you think. Nigga, they don't believe that you want to help them now. Because before the pandemic, your ass wouldn't listen to a beat. You wouldn't take a meeting. You wouldn't come do their interview. Now all these people want to act like they want to be so helpful and share information and help people. The consumers call bullshit. They look at us and be like, that track record go back 25 years. And just like I tell people, like, I'm still friends with my kindergarten friends. So if you think I ain't solid, you can call my first girlfriend and everything all the way up, and it checks out. So the studio checks out. You can go all the way back, and the stories are going to be the same. They're going to say, man, when they started in 95, they came in doing this, and they operated like this, and they had these type of people working here, and it felt like this, and the business was always solid. We always started on time. They never lost my files. Everything was labeled properly. They just called me. I'll put this on my wife that passed and my daughter. So this is a real conversation. 3 days ago, Elliot, that's Tip's DJ, and MLK hit me, and Tip hit me. They're looking for, maybe I should, well, we'll say, hey, they bought the rights to this first album. They own it. So they looking for the first album. We did the first album. So they don't know where the tapes are. I just go to the studio. I'll show you, I have a record of, I'm telling them, look, this is where I sent the reels on this date. 1/20/2009, your masters went here. Here's the shipping number, right? And so now, and here's the dude's number. They like, well, we bought the masters, and they acting like it ain't no 2-inch reels. I said, listen here. This is something y'all don't know. I said, Arista Records and LaFace has a vault, a physical vault, where they keep all of their masters, the 2 inches. When we would finish up a project to get our final payment, we had to physically mail all of those reels to them. They will put them in a physical vault. And so I'm like, y'all paid for the record. Don't let them tell you that they don't have no masters. They got masters back to the 30s sitting in that vault, because I know the person that was running the vault.
I
just gave them all that information. I said, here's the date, because they was looking for Dope Boys. So I just go on my computer, type in Dope Boys T.I., it pulls up. It shows when it came in the studio, and then we have a record of when it went out, who signed for it, and where it got sent to. So they should be able to get their stuff. So we help people like that all the time, where they looking for old stuff, and I can tell them, Jason Jeter picked up this went to this dude, this went over to this studio, and they can kind of chase it down.
That's organization on a whole nother level right there, Curt.
But when you start like that, it's not a problem. It's hard to go back and organize 25 years worth of information. But if you hit day one with the system in place, all I'm doing then is typing in. I'm like, you know what? It might be under Tip, because when he first came out, it was Tip. So do a search for Tip. Then I said, matter of fact, just type in Dope Boys. Don't put a Z on it, because it could be a Z or a S. Type in Dope Boy and put in T.I. and don't put the P. Put it in, everything popped up, all his records.
My God.
Right? And we did that for Pimp C's book. It was some type of confusion as to where Pimp C did his work at.
Ooh.
And Julia hit me, and I'm like, we did that here. And then she said, you got any proof? And I went to the album to see when it was released. And then I went to my session reports and looked at the 3 months prior. Boom, Dale Ramsey, track vocals, UGK, Pimp C on Big Pimpin'. So I gave them the sheet of paper with the date, with all the notes, and it's in the book.
Okay, Curt. I got too many questions. Okay, that's number one. I got too damn many questions. My first question is, Organized Noise, Outkast, going in there and them recording in your studio, being a witness to what was going on, did you feel like what was happening in your studio was going to change the trajectory of hip hop in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah, so it's two things before we get to the story. There's a person before the story, which is Dee Dee Murray.
Okay.
Dee Dee used to be married to Ray, and
Yeah.
she used to run Organized Noise.
Okay.
Dee Dee is the one person where you will see me on camera, and if you ever, I don't have any mentors or whatever, Dee Dee is the person that held my hand. Dee Dee is the person that we just missed their first album, so they already had did the first album, New York, LA, to get the records done. By the time they came to us, she had experience in dealing with studios, so she was the person to be like, let me tell y'all what y'all need in the building. Curtis, you need session reports. Curtis, you need a runner. Curtis, you got to have a smoking room because my guys got to smoke. You need this, you need this, you need to know what a PO was. And so she was the person that was giving me feedback every day. I think it worked because whatever she told me, she saw us do it the next day.
Yeah.
And then we were willing to cater to them. So we crafted the whole thing about how they worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The tapes had to be there. She wanted them ready 2 hours before they got there. You know what I mean? These musicians and coming. So she's the person that kind of taught me, because my degree's in psychology. I had never been in the music industry.
Yeah.
I read books. Dee Dee confirmed what I read, and then she checked me when we was fucking up. But she was we had a situation one time where we probably wouldn't even be where we be because one of the engineers accidentally erased Cujo's vocals. And the guys didn't want to come back. Rico and them didn't want to come back there, and Dee Dee stood up.
Damn.
And we went on from there. You know what I mean? And I remember the argument. Man, we can never capture that emotion. Cujo laid that goddamn verse down. He ain't never gonna be able to do that. Nigga, do you know how much that's worth? You know, and we had that happen again when we moved to the bigger facility. One of the engineers cut off Rodney Jerker's MPC, and he was working on some TLC stuff, and Rodney just went, but now that went different. Rodney wanted so much money, and I was like, dude, nah. And, you know, we worked since then. We were fine, but Dee Dee helped so much, I want to put that on there. But, yeah, working with them, I can remember when they would be, Gip and them would be running up the hallway. Dirty side. Like, man, what the fuck is you talking about? The weird part about it is when you hear stuff that they just saying before they went in the booth and before everybody else heard, it doesn't mean anything. When y'all hear Dirty South, it means something. When they running up and down, sky high, what the fuck is you talking about? Red Clay Records, you know, all that stuff, and you would just see, and it was different. You knew it was magical because of so many people was in the studio. Just laying down the music with Organized Noise was big.
Yeah.
Then the artists coming in, and then it's 10, 12, 14 of them. You're not gonna make a whack record, or it ain't gonna come out with 20 of your homeboys in the room saying that shit work. That was a collaboration.
Yeah.
So all of them was there for the Outkast album. Mm-hmm. All of them was there for the Goody Mob. All of them was there for the PA album. All of them was there for Esperanza, Society of the Soul, Cool Breeze. They all was there.
Yeah.
Right? So it was, you knew it was magic, man. Like, I mean, it was different. And then what really made me know because we did Elevators, or Me and You. And when Dre came out with that thing, and everybody was like, what the fuck is this alien ass nigga? It was just different. And so, like always, one of the guys always say that he attribute that record with the Patchwerk sound. So when you listen to that, the way it sounds, that was on 2-inch, that was in the original Patchwerk, that's what it sounded like. And that literally gave us credibility, because when that album jumped out back then, when you thought about hip-hop in Atlanta, you only thought about Outkast.
Yeah.
There wasn't any, I mean, there was other people that came out before, but they didn't have the commercial success. So when we came, that was the hustle. Mm-hmm. I found out that Rico and them was super Falcon fans, and Bob played for the Falcons. And so I offered them tickets to the game, and they said they wanted to go. And then Dee Dee proceeded to try to get 23 tickets from me. And I said, you can get 23 tickets. She wanted to come pick them up. I said, anybody going to the game got to come to the studio and get them themselves. Mm-hmm. And we were only 3 miles from the Georgia Dome. Yeah. So when they came to get the tickets, half the people left their car there, and they carpooled. We went to the game. Bob gave them jerseys, came out the stands. And after the game, everybody had to come back and get their car, and they worked that day. And that was how we got our first client. We went from there.
That's cold-blooded.
And my goal was, I kept saying that if we can get on Outkast's album and it says recorded at Patchwerk, they gonna sell 3 million CDs.
Yeah.
and people going to look at it, and it's going to give us instant credibility, and we going to be gone. And that's what happened.
Was there a specific song that you heard that just blew your mind? And did you understand when you heard it that that thing was going to be out of there?
I just specifically remember Sky High and Dirty South. But, you know, the weird thing is that it's songs from time to time that you hear that you be like, if I jump from that, I remember one specific moment where it gave me chills.
Ooh.
And we was doing a listening party for Jeezy.
Yeah.
And it was around the BMF, and it was probably about 200, 300 people in the studio. We brought in an extra system so it can be loud and all this stuff, right? So, and again, nobody had heard Akon and Young Jeezy. And when it came on, it was a buzz because it was so many people. And we was playing the records, you know, get the yams at the aunties. They was hype. When Akon came on, remember, y'all know the song now.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever heard it. And it went off, and everybody in the room was quiet, and then one person said, play that shit again. They hit that motherfucker 2-3 times, and I remember I saw G. I said, nigga, do you remember the listening part? And he was like, I don't remember that. But that was a moment where literally you knew. And he had so much hype that you could be a disappointment because people got so much expectations on you.
Yeah.
And I remember we was working on that album and it was done. And the last record was when Manny Fresh came in there. Doom, doom, cut. And L.A. Reid was like, we got one. Once that record got done and the album got buttoned up, Shakir and them was up there and all that stuff. God bless his soul. And it was the craziest thing on earth. I seen some footage from that, but I wish we had all these camera phones and cameras that we had then, because what I'm telling you, people wouldn't believe it. Like, it just was that, like, oh, and we had been in business so long, but I had never felt or seen anything like that because Akon wasn't associated with being hard or nothing. Yeah. And, you know, and when they dropped that, nobody said nothing. That nigga, it was like the song went off before it, and then, you know, back then we had fade, so it would fade down.
Yeah.
Be like 3 seconds, and the other song come on, there's no music. Akon and Young. And niggas like, is that you had that feeling before when a record come on?
Yeah,
like, what the fuck was that? It was a what the fuck feeling when everybody was in the room, you know?
Watching Jeezy record music that was going to go down as legendary and iconic as well, what was it like watching his creative process go down in there? And did you feel like Jeezy was on a trajectory to just change the game as well?
Here's what, you know, Jeezy's funny because, you know, he used to be mad at me, you know, because when he first started, he was paying for his own stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time he got mad at me because he had a bill and he hadn't paid it, and I wouldn't let him work. And he was, motherfucker, I had to leave this goddamn video shoot to come pay this shit. So he would slap the money down or whatever, right? So, you know, years later, you know, probably about 4 years ago, I realized how much he respected it because Solomon's kind of management, his business partner now, and he has a studio not too far from where we are, and I didn't know about it. But they called me, and they wanted me to help manage the studio. And when I went over there, Jeezy was there, and he was like, Curt, I don't want nobody else to do this shit, nigga. You the only motherfucker that wouldn't let me smoke, and nigga Snoop was there, you wouldn't let him smoke, and I want my shit ran like that. I don't want Westside Willie in here. I want my shit organized with the billing and the scheduling and the engineering and all this stuff or whatever. And this was probably about 2 years ago, so figure we did them albums 10, 15 years ago. So you never really get your confirmation, because even when he would do his listening parties, Kevin Lyles them and all them would want to smoke in the room. Yeah. And I'd be like, nigga, nope. Nigga, how much can we pay you to smoke? Nope. And so I was always the hard ass. Yeah. But then you realize when people mature and they get their own stuff, sometimes you never know that they respected that you did a long time ago. But he told me that when he picked out of all the people, he's like, I'm not doing this shit with anybody but you. I'm about to go to LA and be filming for the next couple years, and I want my shit kept up nice. You the only motherfucker that I trust to run my shit. Now I didn't do it. Yeah. But, you know, it was
consulted.
You know, yeah. And then, you know, they've called me, that's what Tip called me for the other day. You know, they having some issues and stuff like that. And those are people that we started with. And so, like I tell them, I ain't really hireable.
Yeah.
But I share information, and I'll be happy to talk to your studio manager and look at what he's doing and tell him what he need to be doing differently. You know, first thing, what problems are you having? And then I can kind of go from there, because I don't want to step on their toes. Like I told them, I said it's like when Bill Parcells took the job at the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. He told them, before I come, you got to get rid of Emmett. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to come there and get rid of Emmett. So you got a problem, but you have people in place.
Yeah.
I'm not finna come in there and trade Emmitt Smith. Make sure Emmett gone before I come in, and then I'll run your team. You
exactly.
know what I mean? So I'm conscious of all of that. And then again, I want everybody to win. I just feel like if we got more than one great room in Atlanta, then we can do it. Our coach is building a big-ass studio.
Ooh.
That nigga never called me so much, you know what I mean? He started out with us. People may not know. He used to do promotions and stuff.
Yeah.
We had a group called Jadis and stuff. So he's like family, but I got over 50,000 square feet, and he building a bunch of rooms. And so he calls, Curt, I got my architect in town. Can I come through? Yep, come through.
Yeah.
Sit down, talk to him. Man, you mind coming out looking at the place? Nah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
You know, we do that with everybody. All the studios, you know what I mean? So that you know, that's why I think that, like, I always thought that people thought that our artists were together and they worked and collaborate. I was trying to pull the back end with some of the studios and stuff like that together.
Dr. Dre coming into Patchwerk.
Right.
What was that like when Dr. Dre pulled up in that thing?
Dr. Dre made me leave my house, right? Because I normally be gone at 2 o'clock, but I came back that night. And so here's the funny story around the Dr. Dre stuff, right? So they come in, and I remember the first night they started was a Sunday. Breon booked that session. Everybody know Breon from Dancing on There with Teddy Riley. And he from L.A. too. I used to date his sister. So Breon called me, you know, and Breon, if Breon do something, you going to know. It's a couple people like that.
Yeah.
But you going to know that they did it. They going to tell you, nigga, I'm doing, they'll book it, but then they going to call me personally to, nigga, I'm bringing Dre to Atlanta, nigga, and we want all the rooms, and I ain't take them nowhere but to your spot, nigga, da-da-da. So he calls me, right? So the funny part, no problem. And, you know, it's 2 stories I'm going to tell you. I'm like, dude, he got a rider? Nah, he just like da-da-da. So anyway, they come in, and he do want something. That nigga want 6/5 of Tanqueray. And back then, Atlanta didn't sell liquor on Sunday.
Oh!
So I called Solomon, who was running Justin's at the time.
Yeah.
And he provided me with the 6/5 of Tanqueray, and I replaced them for him on Monday. And then, so the other thing we know about Dre is that he blows a lot of speakers. He like his shit loud.
Damn.
So our engineer, there's a way, like our knob on the SSL goes up. Everything say 10. This one go up to 12.
Uh-huh.
But you can hit some buttons and put a limiter on there so it won't go as loud. And so the console got about 113 channels. It's a big-ass SSL. So Dre walk in the room, and we got our plan. Like, he ain't about to blow our speakers, nigga. He turn it up. He look around. I must say. He took it off. He said, nigga, I've been working on these since I was 12 years old. And then that was it. And then the other thing that, like I said, I was proud of Atlanta. Atlanta paid homage. Like, everybody came to the
You
studio.
damn right.
From Jermaine Dupri to T.I. to Jazzy to the business to everybody in Atlanta. And then the thing that when I was talking to Dow Jones from the business, he was like, man, what was cool? Because Dre had the big room, he had the little pre-production room, and he had 995, and they was up in lounge. Producers just had different workstations. And Dre would go into each workstation with the people, and he wasn't critiquing, but he would tell them what they can do to make it better. So they learned something. And then I remember Tip was in the booth, and that's the footage that people say. And he did something, and Dre was like, hey, Tip, do you mind doing this? Tip said, nigga, I will do whatever you tell me to do. If you want me to speak that shit backwards, nigga, I will do it, nigga. Whatever you suggest, I'm going to do. Woo. And so, like I always said, people paid homage to him, and it was dope. He was there for a week.
Being from L.A., though, man, and then being in Atlanta and having Dr. Dre in there, what kind of moment was that like for you, Curt?
Man, I don't even know if I went in there. I was in there. I don't even remember. I think I might have shook his hand. I can't remember.
Yeah.
You know, I just make sure that they know that we from home.
Yeah.
So when Snoop's in town, when Kendrick's in town, you know, when Nate Dogg was alive, Dog Pound, anybody that come from California, I just let them know that, you know, we from home.
Exactly.
And then, you know, like some of the younger people, like it's funny, like, you know, because it plays both ways, because I don't know if people know, like Brandy and Ray J are from Carson.
Yeah.
We from Carson. We from a neighborhood called the Patch. That little group, Dial My Heart, the boys, they from Carson.
Yeah.
Game lived in Carson. So when Brandy and Ray J was there, I went up there and I talked to him. But see, you know, then Ray J wants something when he find out. Nigga, you the homie from Carson. Nigga, you from the Patch. Nigga, we live in Centerview. Nigga, we straight now. Nigga, can I get in here? So some people, it's a weird thing. Like, I didn't go meet Beyonce. I didn't go meet Alicia Keys. I didn't go meet Mariah Carey. I did meet Jeezy. I sat with Farrakhan for 4 days straight.
My God.
And then I met Patti LaBelle, Regina Belle, stuff like that. But some people, it's kind of like, it's a weird thing that once they meet you, they don't want to go through the front desk or the managers for anything else anymore.
Yeah.
So, and it's so the last one, like, you know, I came from up here when KRS-One was up. KRS-One was in the studio. I said, what? And so I drove up there, right? And so he's working and stuff like that. And I think Kool Mo D was up there with him. And,
Damn.
And so anyway, I just go in the office and I tell him, I said, hey, they already had booked, I think, about 8 hours. I said, we're going to change your invoice and we're just going to bill you for the engineer. The studio time is on me as a token of my appreciation for what you've done for hip hop. Don't worry about that. So we did that. And then they got my number. And then the next day when they wanted the book, I said, nigga, we I paid homage to you, you know? So the next 5 or 6 times they call me instead of calling. So like like, you know, so some of the stuff I'll just be like, you know, some people, you gotta feel it, because some people may get offended if you don't come out and acknowledge them and speak to them. Some people may be like, you bother me. Yeah. And then some people gonna want to start talking directly to you, and I'm trying to point everything through the office. You know what I mean? So some of them, you know, I was scared of Regina Belle because I love Regina Belle. That was like my favorite. I used to go to sleep to her stuff, so I was intimidated by her. Yeah. And I would look in there and be like, nigga, Regina Belle was here? And she was here in the daytime. I was there. Mm-hmm. Regina Belle came back. Nigga, after the 4th or 5th time she walked by, I said, Miss Regina, can you come to my office for a second? She said, yeah. I said, I'm one of the owners. She said, really? I never met you. I said, yeah, I've been looking all the times you've been here. I said, man, I've been scared to talk to you. Yeah. She said, for what? I said, I just have so much respect for you, and I love your voice, and I used to go to sleep to your cassette in high school. I popped the tape. Yeah. You make it like it was, you know? And so she was like, oh, she came in. You ain't got to be scared of me. She gave me a hug. She gave me her number. And, you know, we know each other. So here's that, right? So she was so kind. And so we started doing, before the pandemic, she was doing a 100-person choir, because her husband's John Battle, and they're both pastors, ministers, for the Hawks. So Martin Luther King Day, we would always do the recording for the choir, and so I would see her every year. And so then, like, you know, my wife, I got married, and the 2 songs we danced to was Regina Belle, Love and Need You, and If Only You Knew. Love Regina Belle. My wife passed unexpectedly. I had Nikki Gilbert from Brownstone sing them same 2 songs. And guess who walked in the studio? Patti LaBelle. Oh! Nigga, I'm like, I go in the room. Hey, Miss Patty, I'm Curtis Day. I'm one of the 2 owners. And I'll tell you a story real quick. So I told her about my wife, and then I told her, I said, the only reason I felt comfortable coming to speak to you was because of the way Regina Belle acted. And she said, that's my sister. And thank God for her, because you probably would have thought I was a diva and you wouldn't have had the comfort to come talk to me if it wasn't from her. Yeah. And, you know, so, you know, those was like I said, I love rap, but Farrakhan, Patti LaBelle, Regina Belle, I did want to see if E40 really can do that shit that he be rapping, and that nigga did it. I wanted to see if Scarface really was Scarface and he was him. And then the other person that I was like, fuck that, I got to hear this nigga, was Twister. Because I said, that nigga got to be doing some type of trickery. And so I went in the room, and that nigga, when they do it, they do it. Like, you know what I mean? So some of those people, you know, and then the funny thing, like when I met Jay-Z, he was there with Jeezy. So Jeezy asked me to come to the room, And I always be wondering how people gonna introduce themselves or whatever. Like, this nigga's Jay-Z. Everybody fucking know him. So, Jeezy, they sitting on the edge of the little thing. Oh, this my nigga Curt. He run the studio. We did all our shit, da-da-da. So then he stick his hand out to give me dap. And what do you think? How you think he introduced himself?
Hello, I'm Jay-Z.
No.
What did nigga say, Curt?
The nigga was like, he slapped my hand like this. Oh, I said, get the fuck out of here, nigga. Somebody call you. I thought he was gonna say Sean or Jay or Jigga. That nigga was
nigga said, call me God.
That nigga was Hove. I said, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So, those are cool moments though. Yeah.
Being in there with Farrakhan though, man, what kind of game did he lay on you?
A lot. And it was funny because most people know Antico Pizza's across the street, so Giovanni owned that place. And I remember Giovanni called me, what the fuck is going on at the studio? Y'all got the Secret Service out there? And so I walked outside, and it was black cars on 14th Street, on 10th Street, on Hemp Hill, all around the studio. And the funny thing is when we do Farrakhan, they come like 2 days ahead of time.
Yeah.
And they do a sweep of the studio and all this stuff. I'll tell you, I'm going to get back to him, but another funny story. So we in there, I ain't doing no work. I'm literally sitting shoulder to shoulder with him for 8-9 hours a day. And I'm going to tell you about some of the stuff. But I remember one time he was thirsty. And so we give everybody bottled water. Them niggas threw that water in the trash and brought out his own water. They don't trust nobody.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Which is good. And, but, he was there and he kind of got on me. He was telling me stories about Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So if people don't know, he plays the violin.
Yeah.
He did an album. And we did a lot of the recording. So he got Snoop Dogg, Stephanie Mills, Rick Ross, all these rappers. He has a double CD out now. He did a big-ass booklet. I bought the booklet. It's like $125. So he plays the violin. So he in there.
With Rick Ross jamming.
So beautiful. It's, he knows his music. He used to play.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he was like, I kind of put it on the back burner and I just want to do it. So they did this album. And it's dope. And so anyway, he's in there and I didn't have a kid at the time. And he was like, brother, he looked at, you got to have multiple kids. We got all these people out here that ain't doing as well as you, that ain't as intelligent as you. You the one need to be bringing up these kids. You should have at least 3 or 4. The next time I see you, I want to talk about your kid. And, and so.
Wow.
He came back, I had my daughter. But he just told a bunch of stories from like the 70s and 60s and stuff. And then it ain't even so much of when he talking to me, when he in the room.
Yeah.
And he just talking. It's like a blessing like any artist. Sometimes people just want to be a fly.
On the wall.
I was a fly on his shoulder. And we literally, I'm not saying nobody was in between us. It was me and him sitting there, and then it was other people. Then I met his son and all the people, the FOI and all that stuff or whatever. And, it was just, you just in the presence of somebody that's bigger than whether it's music or entertainment and stuff like that, and you appreciate it. And I used to go to the mosque when I went to school at Michigan State, and I used to follow him and listen to Khalid and all that stuff, and they've always been a part of hip-hop. So it was just cool to be able to be in there, with it. And then I posted a picture, and he reposted it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got so many questions just involving that, but I just got to bring it back in. One, you watched the Million Man March, and then you see that man in your studio. Mm-hmm. What was that feeling like?
It's unbelievable. Like I said, it's certain things that, I've been places and you'd be like, I remember one time when we was in, we got stuck on 9/11. So when I told you we was in Bermuda and Jamaica, we was in Barbados, and our flight was coming back to the States on 9/11. And so they grounded our plane in Jamaica, and we got stuck there for a week. We was the first people, and so Air Jamaica comped everything. They let us stay in the rooms and whatever. So we got stuck in Jamaica for I was in my room, and then we was at breakfast. I left my luggage in the room. So everybody was ready to go to the airport. I went back and the TV was on and I seen some run into the tower. So I'm sitting there looking. So they sent the little cart, the golf cart, to come get me. And I'm like, nigga, they just blew up the tower. So we go down and we going to check in, and one of the girls was in the reserve. She started crying, and then the second plane hit something. And so we ain't going home. We going to the U.S. Embassy. I said, look, I'm trying to get as close to home as possible. And I knew we connected in Jamaica. So it was about 12 of us. 4 people didn't want to go.
Yeah.
1 girl was crying. I said, I'm getting on the goddamn plane. We get on the plane, get to Jamaica, and they like all flights are grounded. So we got stuck for 7 days. When we got back to Atlanta, people was kissing the ground. But anyway, when we was over in Jamaica, we went out.
Yeah.
And I remember, and it was like if out of 12 songs that played in a row, 7 of them we had worked on in the studio. And I remember I looked at Bob, I said, man, that shit is crazy. We some niggas from Carson, California, and this shit done went around the world. Like, and that's when it'd be like you get perspective that this shit is going around the world. And we did that, like, you know what I mean? So it's a humbling experience. So to see him there and to see some of these big giant artists, and you know, they have enough money and they have enough resources to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And for them to consistently hear good things about us and trust us enough with their work speaks volumes. And so it's been hard for me. I remember when all the Versus stuff was going on, I'm competitive. So I'm in the background like, nigga, I'm about to pull me 20 records in case the studio want to battle me.
Yeah.
And so I had a problem where, because we didn't just do songs, we did albums. So I started thinking, I want to do pay respect to Atlanta. So the Outkast first album, what one song you gonna pick off ATLs? That's hard.
Yeah.
But we did 3 or 4 or 5 Outkast albums. Then Tip's first album, what song you gonna pick? But we did 3 or 4. Jeezy's first album, pick one song. We did 4 or 5 albums. Ludacris, 4 or 5. Sierra, whole album.
Yeah.
So then I start saying like, okay, well, let me just pick 20 artists, but then I couldn't pick 20 songs. And then I'm like, but then that's disrespectful to Snoop, Jay-Z, the Pimp C, the big twisting them and all this stuff, and I just threw it away.
Yeah.
And so the first playlist we did was when Gucci and Jeezy did their verses. We put out a playlist on Spotify called Show the Work.
Yeah.
And I think it was 76 songs that Gucci and Jeezy, that wasn't even all of them, just going back and forth, Gucci, Jeezy, of all the songs that we did at the studio. And so then I thought about it, I said, you know what? I could do decades, the first 10 years, but nigga, you can't. Then I said, I can do by year, but like I told you, we doing 11 or 13 sessions 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for us to go back and talk about what we done because we worried about who y'all consider a superstar coming in today.
Yeah.
And so I tried to put we did a documentary that we gonna probably put out on your network.
Yes, sir.
And we try to tell a story, but it's challenging. It's 4 hours that we cut it down to try to give you guys a little bit of insight of some of the stuff that we've done.
Last Farrakhan question: were there any artists that came in there and mixed it up with them while you was in there, and what was that vibe like?
No, he already had the vocals.
Okay.
And so, like, you know, he played me the song with Snoop on it, and then he played the song with Stephanie Mills. He was adding his string parts to them. So the songs, they had been working on them for years. And so then he was going back in, doing his parts to them to kind of complete them. So there weren't any artists that came in the studio. It was just FOI.
My God. UGK and Patchwerk. The legendary Bun B and Pimp C in there, man.
I got a story about that.
Talk to me.
So we doing UGK. This is at the original studio. And they would book like a week or something. And I was cool with Chad. So even every time he got out of jail, he would call me.
Yeah.
Kurt, anybody want a verse? They coming through you, and I'm doing it there. Just tell him this much. I used to talk to his mom. Hakeem just passed and all that stuff. I went to his funeral, and Sanji's real cool with him. That used to be his girlfriend. So anyway, I remember one time we was at the old studio, and I didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, you know, they had booked like a week, and they would come in the afternoon, maybe from like 2 to 12 or 2 to 10, but Pimp C wasn't doing nothing. It was a bunch of old people playing music in the studio, and he would just have the engineer record it. And after like the third day, I said, nigga, what are you doing? Because he would be in the lounge smoking, and they would just be playing all these live musicians. He's like, nigga, this is where I get my sounds from. I let the drummer play all day. I let the keyboard nigga play all day. And I let the horn player play, and then I take them sounds and make my beats. That's why when y'all listen to his production, it sounds so good because he got a kick drum from a live drum off of 2-inch.
Exactly.
He got a real keyboard on the Moog playing, and he got a horn player, so he would just take all them sounds and make his beats from them. And I always tell people, it's like we always say, shit in, shit out.
Yeah.
If you start with a shitty sample or a bad record, it only gonna get so good. Pimp C didn't play that. He wanted all good sounds.
Exactly.
He was getting his sounds. And so, I remember when he passed, I had a bunch of 2-inch reels. I probably shouldn't even say this. And the label was calling, trying to get them. I called Bun B. Said, nigga, get a FedEx number. I sent them 2-inch reels because it was their work.
Yeah.
And so I hope, some of the things that, like, sometimes I've given people stuff and now I kind of wish, sometimes I think, I wish that I didn't because they be losing shit.
Oh.
Right? So like Jeezy's first album, they came and took that, and then I remember Erica sent me something. Somebody had listed it on Amazon or eBay. They had his reels because he moved out of some house and left it there. And then, like, if you listen to his concerts, you'll notice the first album doesn't sound as good because they don't have the masters to create stems.
Yeah.
So like what they do now is if we got the stems, if they know they got a band and they can't recreate a certain sound, they'll just use the sound from the recording.
Yeah.
They done call me every other year looking for the original stuff, and I'm like, here's the record. Y'all took all this shit up out of here.
Yeah.
And they don't have it. And then, like, I remember we was doing, I don't remember, Tip got an album when Kanye produced on it, and the song that stayed on there was called I'm Just Doing My Job.
Yeah.
But they were there for a week, and Kanye probably did about 7 songs. And I remember when we was cleaning out the thing, I called Jason, and I'm like, man, I got a whole box of Tip stuff that didn't make the album with Kanye and all these other producers. Come get this shit. And I would give it to them, and then now they calling looking for certain things because they don't have them, right? You know what I mean? And so one thing that I did do, I did keep Breed stuff. And Breed passed, and I didn't say anything. And then one day, Sanjay used to date Dad, Pimp C, and be around Jazzy back in the days. She comes by the studio, and she brings Tasha, which is Breed's wife or baby's mom, or they was in a long-term relationship. And so we upstairs talking. I saw, you Breed's wife? For real? I said, come downstairs. So I brought him to our little vault, and I pull out about 4 Breed's reels, about 6 dats and 8 dats. She don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I said, these is masters. These are yours. She started crying. She started crying.
I'm about to cry.
She started crying, and then I said, they're yours. You can take them. And then I said, well, hold on. You need a 2-inch reel to play these. They cost, at the time we bought them, they was $56,000 a piece. So I'm like, you don't have one. Just leave these here, and anytime you want anything off of them, we'll just transfer it for you so you can hear what they are. And they just been sitting there. You know what I mean? I got some other stuff that I ain't telling people because if I tell them, they'll be trying to get it from me. But I got some other stuff that, that.
Did y'all ever get Pac in there?
We worked on, so Jazzy did like the songs that Jazzy did on Pac. I think Fair, You Do Me, that's the way, we did that, but he wasn't alive. Damn. So we worked on the Notorious album.
Yeah.
I think we did the song with Bone Thugs when they big. We did that at the studio.
Wait a minute, Bone and Biggie was recorded over there too?
Yeah, you don't remember? It's Bone and Biggie. It's Bone and Biggie. We gon' rock the.
Yeah, I know that song.
He wasn't alive.
I know they recorded that. Oh,
he wasn't alive.
He wasn't alive when they recorded that?
So both of them songs, or it's a different one. They did another song on this posthumous album called The Notorious. Okay. Both of those albums we worked on, but both of the people were dead. Damn. And so we got a chance to work on it, but I never met neither one of them. Now we did. I remember when I'm just telling you, got me telling stories. So, and I feel bad. This is another lesson that I learned. I learned that the bigger the artist, the nicer they are. Really, the bigger they are, they understand who gives them their blessings, so they kinder towards people. We was doing Junior Mafia, and I had seen all them album covers with Lil' Kim on there, and she was the queen bee. And I'm like, nigga, I don't even want to meet her. When she come up in this motherfucker, I ain't going to be up in here. Came in there, was the nicest person to this day I've met in the industry. She spun my whole perception of what artists are. And so now I notice that the new people are the rudest. The young people are the ones that walk by your office, want to stand on your shit, disrespect the rules, and think that they don't need to be friends with people. But the older people from, Lisa and them and Left Eye and all them, Usher and them, they get it. They gonna kiss the babies and take the pictures. The young people don't get it. I learned that lesson from Lil' Kim. I prejudged her, and I was wrong, and she was very nice.
It's funny you said that because that was leading to one of my questions in my head as well. When you look at these artists when they come in as young folks and, you know, wet behind the ears and then they go on to be legendary, what are the changes that you see in them that happen?
Oh man, you getting good stuff. So I'm gonna tell you another story. So you know when Polo and them was in Jim Crow, they kind of broke up, and I kind of did a couple of things for Jason and Tip and them, and for Polo and them.
Yeah.
Where when they kind of lost their deal, I'm like, I think y'all dope. Y'all just come on and work. We'll hold the bill until you get your situation worked out. Then you can pay it. And so we've done that. We've held the bill for a couple of people. And so anyway, we did that for Polo. Just like we was talking, I said, I think you can look bigger if you do this. So for Polo, you go in that big room and look like you doing $1 million worth of shit. It's gonna pay off, right? So we did that, and he blew the fuck up. And he came back, right? So at one point, a lot of people don't know. So Jimmy came to town, Jimmy IV and Step Johnson and Polo, they come to the studio, and they want to book the big room for a year. And I said, nope.
Damn.
And then, you know, my reasoning was, in my mind, I'm like, nah, y'all gonna kill all my business.
Yeah, you're gonna fuck up the business.
And so they ended up going over to Zach, and he killed his business, and he ended up selling. So anyway, I'm like, I know what I've done for people, right? And I be wondering if they forget. Yeah. So one day, they did an overnighter, and they was still there when I got there at 9:30. It was Polo in the room with You Should Let Me Love.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Mario,
yeah. So they in the room. So I walk in, what's up, Polo? He stopped. He's like, and I said, oh, Mario, what's up? Nice to meet you. And then Polo, like, you don't know Curt? He's like, I've been here before. I said, I met you before, but when you was here with KP, but, you know, we ain't really. Oh, man, Curt, the nigga that's put me on. That nigga used to let me come in here and record and didn't charge me no bill. He put me in that big room, and I looked like $1 million and da-da-da. And then he said, you remember that, Curt? I said, nigga, I thought you forgot. Because when I call your ass, you don't be, I thought you forgot, nigga. I said, hell yeah, I remember all that shit, nigga. You know what I mean? I'm like, nigga, that's why I said, so like, think about it. With Jeezy, I didn't know that he respected how we ran stuff 15, 20 years later. Polo, 15, 20 years later, other people, you don't really hear it. It's just moments when they talking in front of other people. But I literally, that was my response. I said, nigga, I thought you forgot.
Come on.
You know what I mean? And so like even with like 2 Chainz, you know, I remember when he I think his mixtape was like Cocaine Cowboys, and he had that song Riding Around Getting It on there.
Yes, sir.
Right? And so I got his mixtape. I remember I live in Ackworth. I was going to Domino's off of Wade Green, and I called him. And I said, nigga, you snapping your ass off, but your shit sound like shit.
Ooh.
And he said, Curt, what you mean? I said, sonically, it sound like shit. And he was like, well, what I got to do? I said, look, what we going to do is, this was his mixtape. I said, you give me the songs, give me the instrumental, give me the sound effects that these DJs is putting on there, because on all this shooting shit sound crazy. Give me the DJ's drops, give me the vocals, and then what we going to do is we going to mix everything separately and put it together so it'll sound better. And what else we gonna do is we gonna put ID markers so your shit just don't play. Like people can skip from song to song.
Yeah.
And it's gonna sound better. And we gonna master it, right?
Yeah.
That's why that song came off the mixtape and went to radio. And not ain't why it's successful, but sonically nothing had to change because we fixed it.
Exactly.
And he was open enough where people know, like, I guess they know my heart. And I'm just cutting to the chase, and I'm like, we friends enough where, nigga, you rapping your ass off, but it sound like shit. What you mean, Curt? It sound like bullshit. Like sonically, it sound like you in your mama's fucking house, nigga.
Yeah.
Well, what do I got to do to fix it? And then he was big enough to fix it. And that song, literally, if you go back and listen to his mixtapes before the one with Riding Around Getting It, listen to it sonically and listen what it sound like. Sound like a cassette tape. And when we jumped to that one, everything after that, it was a different quality. And so we started doing that for people. And so, like, sometimes you wonder, do they remember? But I'm never one to go around and say, because we did this, this person had this. I believe these people are hard working.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of factors that add up to I don't like people that be like, I did this, and because I did this, or he wouldn't have did this because of that. You know what I mean? So it's been a lot of those different stories where we've helped a lot of people out.
How do you go in there and tell Snoop Dogg he can't smoke in the studio?
Man, let me go back because about a month and a half ago, Rick Ross was smoking in the studio. And we had a younger engineer that was scared to say something.
Of course, scared to death.
So they called me, and then I called Tomcat. I knew he was engineering. And I'm like, Tom, man, he can't smoke. He was like, he's sitting right here. And so I talked to Ross. He's like, Curt, man, that ain't no problem. You know, I respect this place. I done been here a million times. What I don't respect is this motherfucker could have just turned around and told me. And then he says his services are no longer relinquished. Give me another engineer. And so we had to swap them out. So most people, they respect
the facility,
the rules. You know, like if you talk to them like a man, if you come in there trying to big ball and be like the clown people, and that's what I tell the manager. I said, a lot of time these people are famous and they're going to put on a show. So if you have to correct them, pull them out in the hallway when they by themselves.
Exactly.
And they're going to be more
modest
respectful for you. Yeah. You know, I don't have to. I came up there on we used to have a problem with Thug. I had to put them out. And then, you know, Future liked to smoke. We kind of wrapped up some of his sessions and stuff like that. And what I try to get people to see is it's not just a hip hop studio.
Yeah.
When y'all leave, we finna do the Braxtons in the daytime. We finna do this podcast with these attorneys.
Yeah.
We finna do this marketing thing. We're gonna do some high school students. And so when you smoke, all of that stuff goes somewhere. The studio has a lot of absorption fabric. It sits in the fabric.
Yeah.
It seeps down into the console and starts shit don't work. So like in our thing, we used to have to replace our PlayStation like 3 times a year.
Damn.
And every time the problem was, they would be like, it's smoke damage. Damn. The shit get up in the components and it breaks shit.
Yeah.
So we know people have an expectation of their experience with us, and for us to deliver a certain experience, we got to have standards. And so, you know, we're respectful. And so, like the last time they called me to book for Future, I said, man, he ain't going to want to work here because I ain't going to let him smoke in the room. Yeah. And Orlando was like, I checked with him. He said it's cool. They got up there. They tried to smoke. I pulled Future out. You know, what can I pay? And I said, you can't do it. I said, y'all got 2 more days booked. Do you just want to cancel them now? Nah, we straight. The next day they didn't show up. And they didn't show, and I charged them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we have enough business where we can, if you don't want to work here, we can just, man, we respect you, go on, and we'll do something else. But if you don't tell me and just don't show up, we got to charge you because we could have booked it. So so that's why we really don't do Lil Wayne anymore. You know, we used to do all of his stuff, but some people want to smoke in the booth and do different things. And I'm like, we bigger than that.
Yeah.
I love to tell people no. Yeah, when they don't do it, I like to come up there. I came up there, one dude, I forgot who the client, he was being disrespectful. His manager was yelling at our front desk. I said, next time you come up there, y'all call me. He just called me at 1 a.m. I got in my car, drove from Ackworth. Sure enough, he was standing in the hallway smoking at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
I said, hey, man, come here. He said, who are you? I said, I'm the owner. Come here.
Yeah.
Pulled him into the live room. I said, look here, man. I'm from L.A. They Bloods where I live.
Yeah.
I said, I could have called. I said, I live 30 miles from here, and I normally ain't up here after 2 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I could have called up here and told them to put you on the phone, but I drove down here to look you face to face and ask you, what's your problem? Like, why are you continuously disrespecting my employees, and why are you smoking all over the place? And I said, if you can't abide by the rules, we're not calling you and asking you to work here. You don't have to come here. And I said, I don't disrespect my employees, so I don't expect you to do that.
Exactly.
And he was like, man, you know what? I respect the fact that you came down here and talked to me man to man. You ain't going to have no more problems with me. I said, cool, it's understood. I never went in the studio. I didn't call them out in front of the clients.
Yeah.
And they've been a model client since then. And so it's just like, you know, sometimes you got to talk to people. Like, you know, like this ain't no corporation. We some niggas. And you ain't about to do that shit, and you can get the fuck up out of here.
Exactly.
Right? But I'm not going to be, I could approach it like that, but I'll be like, let me look at them and talk to a man to man. And I'll be like, okay, y'all, you know, the engineer tell them. If they don't listen, the manager go tell them. If the manager have a problem, call me. I want to come down there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And we ain't going to have any issues anymore.
I was watching all of that content myself, okay? Sammy was over there going crazy. Y'all had some of the best guests ever coming through there. And then it was to the point to where I had to go in there and do my damn podcast in there for a slick second myself just because I needed the Patchwerk feel in my life. I was not going to be able to die and say that I ain't working Patchwerk. Now, I might not have recorded no damn songs in there like I wanted to when I was younger, but I went in there and recorded my...
Right.
And I got that same experience
Right.
recording my podcast in there, man, and I just appreciate that as well. But like I say, I'm looking forward to partnering with you on this because, like you say, we come together and we just distribute this content and educate people. That's what we're really trying to do out here, is get the information out so that we can have more people to work with.
Right. Yeah. That's why I just said when you asked, I felt like it was going to make my job better.
Yeah.
And like I always say, if they know better, then they'll make a better choice. So like even for us, I'm on our marketing people all day. It was like, don't sell shit.
Yeah.
Just provide the information and they'll choose. They be trying to buy stuff from me all the time. I just give them the information and then they want to buy it. So I don't like to sell stuff. I just like to present and then be like, okay, well, now that you know that there is a difference between us and here, then you'll probably choose a little bit. You'll see the value. I don't really talk cost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could go over here, but we more productive. So you booking 8 hours here. I remember Alley Boy, you know, he told me that. He's like, man, my label, the label actually wouldn't let him work there. Then they said, we need you to go work there because we want you to get a buzz. He wanted to work there. And then he would be like, Curt, man, when I come over there and do 8 hours, I get more work done than when I'm doing 12 hours at the other studio.
Damn.
And when I do the 12 hours at the other studio, I never have the confidence that it's done right. So whatever I did over there for 12 hours, when I come over here, I either redo it or make y'all do it. And he's like, I'm trying to get them to understand that I don't feel like I have my superpowers. Well, I'm at the other place and I'm always worried about if this shit is right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like I realize we give people peace of mind. So like now with the labels, there's less admin people in the office, right?
Yeah.
And so if you got an artist that want to work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., they just want to send an email and say, hey, Patchwerk, can we get in the studio tonight from 6 to 6? Yeah, we got available. We need an engineer. Okay, we trust the engineer. Here go the purchase order. They finna sleep the whole night, right? You put them motherfuckers somewhere you don't know, you're going to get a call at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So we it's easy to do business with us because like when we doing R. Kelly, when we was doing R. Kelly and he there for a month, well, he has a food budget that's unlimited. So he gonna eat $300 for lunch, $600 for dinner. And the label would be like, do you need us to give you some money? Nah, we're just sending the bill in at the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I feel bad. Can we cut you a check? Nah, we're going to add this shit up. Just cut me one big check. We can hold the bill. We've been around long enough. And so we make it easy. They're going to get all of their stuff. It's going to be labeled. They're going to get their invoices. They're going to get their session reports. Everything going to be signed. Everything's going to be delivered so you don't have to worry about it. And so I know that that's one of the values because it's less people in the admin and they got 4 or 5 artists and they booking all over the place. They don't want to get on the phone. They just want to email us that y'all got a room available. I need an artist to come in for 7 days. Okay, here go the PO. It's $32,000. Approved. And they done, right? They don't have to worry about it. And like I tell people, you can probably make a better burger than McDonald's, but McDonald's is dependable.
Yeah.
And you know what it's going to be. Now imagine if they was fast, dependable, and their food was good. That's what we are.
Come on now.
Yeah, we ain't just, you don't come here because you be like, man, I don't even want to eat this shit, but it's right here.
Chick-fil-A?
Yeah. And so you be like, nigga, you put it all together, it's Chick-fil-A.
Exactly.
That's what we try to do. So we add the service and we add the quality so the artists feel better. Like I remember, I'll tell you one more story. It's just funny. When we had to do, Gucci's song was So Icy and Black Tea, right? I remember, I think it might have been, which one came out first, Black Tea?
Your Black Tea.
So when he didn't want to redo it, he had did it at his homeboy house, and the label was like, you need to go to the studio and redo it. Nigga, my homeboy shit sound good, this shit, da-da-da. So it was a task getting him to the studio, right?
Yeah.
That nigga came in the studio, right? By the time he finished his first verse, that nigga heard the difference. And he's like, I'm doing all my shit over. That's why he became a client like that. So even when he was like, a lot of times if he was recording out of town or something, he would come back and redo his vocals in the studio because he liked the way they sound. When we was doing all them YG albums, they would book the small room, or like even we was doing plies at times, they would book 2 rooms. They'd be in the big room mixing, and they artists would be in that little room recutting their vocals.
Yeah.
And that's what I be telling people. I don't have to sell you anything. Nigga, come check the mic.
Exactly.
You haven't heard what you sound like yet, right? You know, I don't have to tell you what's the difference. And like I tell people, we wouldn't have been here for 26 years if it wasn't real. The artists feel the difference.
Exactly.
KP always say it has to be a special place for these artists to come in here and bare their soul and be vulnerable enough to put that shit that they feel on wax. They gotta feel comfortable. And so that's what the labels, I used to have arguments with labels. They would literally call me, and I put this on my mama, nigga, your room is the most expensive studio. I can get a room in New York for cheaper than that. I can get in LA. And I said, nigga, I can buy a house cheaper in whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, y'all ain't been here before. Y'all think a studio is a studio is a studio.
Yeah.
They don't come in the studio, and when somebody call on the phone, they be like, where you? I'm at the studio. They said, nigga, I'm at Patchwerk.
Exactly.
When they in the other places, they say I'm at the
studio.
And so I said, y'all in the office, and y'all don't. So they couldn't understand how a studio in Atlanta was charging them more than the studios in LA and New York. And then they would try to tell their artists, I can put you in a room over here. And they would be like, nigga, it costs more, but I'm more productive. I get more done. And the shit is finished when I'm done, and I like the vibe, and I feel more creative. And so we've always had that relationship with the artists that want to work. We done had people, I'm not going to say who the artist is. I am going to say the label. We done sued a bunch of different labels. But this particular time we sued Sony over a bill that they didn't want to pay. It was probably like $11,000.
Yeah.
And then they want to offer us $6,000. And I said, I remember Mike came in there. He's like, this dude want to offer us $6,000. He said, do you mind if I tell him fuck you or fuck? I said, tell him. So he was like, fuck off. We want all our money, right?
Yeah.
And so then the dude threatens, if you guys don't accept this settlement, we're not going to send any more artists from Sony to the studio. And this ain't the first time. This shit happened way back in the day when 112, other people, and I'll sell them. We don't give a fuck about no clients that don't pay.
Exactly.
Nigga, we don't want to work with none of your artists if y'all ain't going to pay the bills. We want all the fucking money. And so they pay us all the money. And then I know that ain't connected. The artists on Sony ain't tripping. They just want to work where they comfortable.
Exactly.
So I don't buy that threat.
Yeah.
Like I done bucked up a bunch of times and be like, they be like, let me speak to your boss. This was when Bob was, I said, he gonna tell you the same thing I said. And then I used to tell the people, I remember one time I had a conversation, I said, y'all motherfuckers in New York is rude. Like you ain't gonna be talking to my staff like that. When you call up here, you need to have a little bit more respect. We ain't doing that shit down here.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so we always, so now I realized at one point that was a problem because then I stuck out and one little lady, she's passed, she was at Universal, she used to try to steer shit away from there. And then I said, okay, that was the moment where I said, I'm gonna remove myself because they used to think my name was Patrick or Patchwerk because I was so involved.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm gonna back out and not make it one person centric so it looked bigger.
Exactly.
So now you don't really, people don't even want to talk to me or whatever. But before, I was wrapped up in it. But, you know, I always say that's why I feel sorry for, you know, smaller studios because the labels, they'll pay you when they need you.
Yeah.
And see, I can hold a bill for 12 years. You're going to need me.
Exactly.
And I'm getting my money. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
And I'm going to sue you. You know what I mean? Without a problem. And I ain't worried about if you threaten me. You know what I mean? And so that's how we've gained respect on the corporate end from the labels. We gain respect from producers. We gain respect from engineers. We gain respect from artists and managers and everything. You know what I mean? And that's what's kind of sustained us is that when somebody try to throw bullshit on us, it don't really stick because you can go back to 1995 and check the record, and we solid.
Exactly. Lastly, Curt, how do you feel being a staple in the city with Patchwerk, with it just really being an iconic place and something that's really brought something to Atlanta that just really fed the culture and moved it forward? Do you even realize how powerful it is, has always been, and how much of a cornerstone it is to the city? Again, I think KP said it best, is like, it's still going on. Yeah. And people don't stop to look at stuff until it's over. And then they look back at it and talk about how great it was. Exactly. Right? When you're in the midst of it, again, we worried about the 13 sessions today. I do realize our impact. I realize that
we are a dream to some people, to a lot of people. And I realize people have saved up their money to come from Alabama and New York and to work at Patchwerk, not a studio. And so I think about what Jordan used to say, that somebody paid their hard-earned money, and this is the first and only time that they're going to see us. And so I understand that from a customer's perspective, and I put it on my staff to be like, you better fucking show out. And so where we are is like sometimes I look back, and, you know, it's weird where you see so many people that you kind of started in the game with in 94, 95, or they came after you. And they do get celebrated and they get their accolades and all this stuff, but they get them because they're not in business anymore. So like when I look at how people celebrate or talk about whether it be Noontime or LaFace or Hitco or any company or Rowdy Records, you know, they talk about all the old days, and I'd be like, no disrespect, but if they was that good, why the fuck they ain't still here? Like what happened? Like I'd be wondering like what happened. And then I'd be like, they don't talk about us because we didn't have a 5-year run. Like you going back and they doing the uncuts on No Limit and looking back and telling them stories. They going back on when they did the piece with Deb Anthony and them and telling stories about Run DMC, and they talking about things that stopped. We don't really get the conversation or the appreciation because and that's why when I look around and I look at people, and I'll be joking with my wife, I said, one day they're going to give me a goddamn reward. I said, there ain't anybody in this music industry that ain't changed businesses or changed titles in 25, 26 years. I said, and people don't understand until, like I used to tell people, when I don't like somebody and I get mad at them, you know, you wish something bad on them, I wish that they get their own business. That's how hard it is. I'd be like, Lord, please let that nigga get his own business so they can learn. And so, and then like what I tell people, you know, I look at it, I say, man, there's black people, there's African American, and there's niggas. I deal with niggas for 25 years that don't like to show up on time, that don't like to pay, that like to argue, that like to break rules. And we've conducted it in a manner that hasn't been done before. And we've said, I look at things and I say, you know, there's BP and AP. There's before Patchwerk, the way things were ran, and there's AP. Now, people don't necessarily understand what it was like before because everything is like us now. The room is set up like us. Before, you couldn't get in the studio. We was the first one to do a producer's ball, a listening party, a wedding, a kid's birthday, a tent in the. Now y'all just used to going in studios. Before, there wasn't no cameras in studios. There wasn't nobody broadcasting from there. You couldn't get in there unless you was part of the clique. You couldn't even get in there to book time, let alone the public have access to the studio. I made that turn after 10 years. I said, man, we did all of our marketing and branding towards the record labels, the managers, the industry people. And then I said, I want Patchwerk to be a household name. And what I want to do is start doing events to bring the general public to the studio. So that's when we put our workstation in the middle of the mall. That's when we start doing I Do Music and workshops and bringing people into the studio who didn't have access. And now you look at every studio, they all employ engineers. Before, they didn't do that. They got engineers that's affiliated with studios. We did that. They do special events at their studios. We did that. We've been doing the podcast. We've been doing that ahead of time, right? And so all of those in distribution, we was doing distribution when it was iTunes and Amazon. We've been an ISRC manager before people knew what the codes were. So it'd be funny, I'd be listening to these people that be speaking on panels and they use my analogies. When I say an ISRC code is like a social security number, I made that up. Now I see all these people saying, I went on a call and this dude was the expert and he was talking about coding and metadata. And I'm like, man, nigga, he using all of my stuff. And so it's weird when you in it, they'll appreciate us when we ain't here, but we plan on being here.
Y'all ain't going nowhere, Kurt.
So at some point, I wanted to earmark it at our 25th anniversary, which is why I did the documentary. And I said, you know, I did a time step at 10 and at 20, we did documentaries that you can look at. And I was like, we're so far that we can't go back. And if I go past 25, I'll never be able to tell them stories. Let me put a marker in the sand so people will understand it at this point. So there are some things that I've done that are on our YouTube page, but they're there so that when we're gone, people will go back and find that album and be like, these niggas was playing on everything.
Exactly.
So it's a lot of times I'll put stuff up and won't even say nothing, and I'll just be like,
just document.
They'll appreciate it later on. Somebody, when nigga die, they gonna go find all them records. When they go out of business, they gonna go back and be like, damn, them niggas did everything.
Yeah.
So I'm conscious of that.
Yeah.
You know, and like, again, not to over publicize it. That's why I kind of want to work with you, because I can see what you're doing, and from our documentary, I've learned things, because couple of the questions, ones that was eye opening, they asked, what was the studio scene like in Atlanta before Patchwerk? So I have all these people telling me what it's like. I didn't know that because I wasn't here before.
Yeah.
Then they say, what does Curtis bring to the game? And so they say he's been a good judge of talent. He's been a good teacher. He trains people. And so I'm hearing all this stuff. And then you'd be like, oh, I didn't know that's what
I was doing all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's been humbling. So on the documentary, there's a folder with all these people talking about me, and I took it out. And I was like, nigga, we ain't doing that shit. Like, I almost posted one the other day, and I said, man, all these people talking about me, I don't really want to, I'm not dead.
See, you defeat the whole purpose. How they supposed to know if you don't put it out?
But it's like I said, when we started, I want them to talk about Patchwerk.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So I'm like, it's the studio. We a team of people.
I feel that.
And that's what separates us. A lot of people, been around people that they own smoothie shops, they own car washes, they own labels, and they ready to quit.
Yeah.
And I say, well, why are you ready to quit? They said, man, these goddamn employees is a motherfucker. I can't stand them. And I be like, damn, we blessed because their weakness is their employees. Our strength is our people.
Come on.
And so we blessed. So like it's a team of people. We can't be doing 13 sessions every day without all them employees and people being coordinated and being organized and moving in the same direction.
Well, I got to ask you this business question before we get out of here too. How did you go about staffing Patchwerk and discerning who the hell you wanted to work with and who the hell you didn't want to work with?
My parents been married for over 50 years.
Uh-huh.
I'm been married and I ain't getting a divorce, and I'm a good person. So it's easy for me to recognize good people.
Yeah.
And I don't bullshit, so it's easy for me to recognize bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to people who are capable of learning.
Yeah.
I don't hire anybody that ever worked at another studio because I don't want you to come in here thinking you know shit and bring them bad habits.
Yeah.
The difference between us is I have the patience. Like one of my managers, I remember one time I was training her and she couldn't open the safe for her life. It took 3 months. Most people will say, let me just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I sit back and that little ball, if you ever look in the office, it's an extra ball because I would sit back there and be like, you take the call.
Yeah.
And then I have to guide them and teach them. First I'll show them, and then I'm going to let them do it until they demonstrate they know how to do it. When they make mistakes, I'm going to correct them on it. And then once they demonstrate they know how to do it, we keep doing it. So we're capable of teaching. So what I look for in people is, one, I look at college as, because I went through college away from school for 5 years. And I say, everybody went to college, but did you graduate? Now, if you graduated, that means you dealt with financial aid.
Yeah.
Could have got a girl pregnant.
Yeah.
You know your ass got homesick. You was on academic probation.
Yeah.
I'm in Michigan. It's 3 degrees, nigga. I'm ready to. So to me, a person that can complete a long-term task, one, that's valuable.
Yeah.
One, they graduated, so they're capable of learning.
Yeah.
A lot of people can read. Not a lot of people comprehend what they read, and they can't comprehend and put it into action. These people, they read, they comprehended, they applied, they was diligent, they worked through hard times, and they graduated. So boom, I'm looking for you. If you in school, I'm looking for you, and if you graduated, I'm looking for you. Now the next thing is, don't come in. I don't give a fuck about what you know. I'm going to give you everything that we want you to know because you demonstrated that you're capable of learning. But the first thing I'm looking for is, are you a good person?
Yeah.
And like I tell people, like, I can get in a car with 10 people and we can be going to my favorite place on earth. But if I don't like the people, I ain't going to have fun. I'm going to be like, nigga, I ain't looking forward to going on this motherfucker because I got to ride with this nigga. Now, if I'm in a car with 5 of my friends, we can sit in the parking lot, nigga, for 12 hours and drink a beer and have a good time. So the first thing is, I want to go with somebody that I like.
Yeah.
And I'm not a gimmick, and I don't have any ulterior motives. So if I like you, you're probably a good person.
Yeah.
If I don't like you, it's probably because you're full of shit.
Exactly.
And I trust what I see. So I'm looking for good people that are capable of learning, that know how to work on long-term shit. And that's who we look at. So the vibe of the studio is when you walk in, you people walk out and say, man, everybody in there was cool.
Yeah.
When I called, they was cool and friendly. When I came here, they was courteous.
Exactly.
My engineer was nice. The front desk. So when you look at it, we have a bunch of good people that are capable of learning.
Yeah.
You can't get into our intern program unless you graduated from a school that teaches audio engineering. You can't get into our marketing until you graduated with a marketing degree.
That's right.
So we got a bunch of educated people that are humble, that are smart, that are capable of learning, that know how to apply the shit that they read to their task. And when you add that up, even if you get past the interview, nigga, when you in a room with 16 other engineers and you working and your shit is bullshit, they gonna fire you, not me.
Yeah.
So when I used to run the intern program, I used to say I was getting Wally Cleavered.
Yeah.
They would come in my office and take out the trash and vacuum, and I'm like, oh, that kid is great.
Yeah.
The other engineers would be like, get rid of that motherfucker. He don't know what he's doing. And so you can't be a pretender at the studio because it's too many real motherfuckers that work there. If you ain't working like the person at the front desk, they're going to have a problem with you.
Yeah.
If you an engineer and you ain't labeling your files and one day you ain't available and somebody else got to do your session, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
If you fucking recording distorted vocals and saying it was recorded at the studio and you messing up this other engineer's reputation, they're going to say get rid of them.
Yeah.
If you an asshole and a manager and my clients is complaining about you ain't sending the paperwork, it won't work.
My God.
So so we're looking for good people.
I can dig it. Lastly, how can they contact you, Curt?
Well, the studio information is the number is 404-874-9880, and then our email that goes to all of the managers is pwr@patchwerk.com, PATCHWERK. Our Instagram is just Patchwerk Studios. So is our YouTube page. My personal page is Fritty Loc, FRITTYLOC, and in the link in my bio, I do free consultations. We charge, like if you want to sit down with our engineer, mixing or mastering and tracking, but I do free consultations. So if you ever have a question about something in the music industry, I try to encourage people to talk to me before they get robbed. So you can just go in there and set up a consultation. You can either do a call, you can set up a Zoom call, or you can do an in-person meeting.
Exactly.
Be happy to help you.
Curt, thank you so much for pulling up on me today, boss.
Oh, appreciate you. I was excited about this,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I always, people be like, somebody commented on the interview and they was like, man, I watched all your interviews and you never give them industry answers. You should do more interviews. And I said, well, I typically accept most of the interviews that people ask me, but I do believe that interviewing me is challenging.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to ask some shit, and if you ask me bullshit, I'm going to throw bullshit. So I was looking forward to where you was going to go because I know that when you do an interview, you did homework before you sat down with the person.
Yeah.
You didn't just pull up and just wing shit or whatever. You got intimate knowledge about it, and that makes it better. So I was excited about, I always tell people, like, I'm going to be good on the panel if you got good questions.
Exactly.
And if you got a bullshit ass host, I'm going to overrun them and, and blah, blah, blah.
But see, also in cases like this, Curt, I grew up watching what you did over there. So it's not even a research thing. I lived this shit. I bought the albums and I saw Patchwerk Studios on the inside of every damn album
But that's
I grew
why
up
your
listening
show
to.
is so good, because you grew up on the people you're interviewing. And so it's
Yeah.
more legit where you asking little side questions where you be like,
Exactly.
if you didn't really know, you couldn't ask that.
Yeah.
So that's why I enjoy it, man. And I salute you on what you're doing. And
We about to crank this bitch up.
it ain't often that I seek people out, and I called you. So, yeah.
Well, we about to get busy. Be High Radio, shout it. Curt, Patchwerk, what up, though? We out of this thing. Holla.
Peace.